Staying with Sri Lanka, 219 people have contracted the coronavirus in the country. At least 7 of them have died. The country is already under immense economic pressure. The Easter bombings last year shattered Sri Lanka's tourism sector. And the Wuhan virus is likely to make matters worse. So what is Sri Lanka's plan of action? How is the island country planning to cope with the coronavirus? Is the Lankan government doing enough? To answer these questions, I'm being joined by a very special guest from Colombo, former Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe. Welcome to WION, Mr. Wickremesinghe. My first question to you is, how is Sri Lanka coping with this crisis, and what do you make of the government's response?
Well, actually, the lockdown has been successful. The government has acted. I must say the health service is doing a wonderful job. So is the military, the police, public sector, and the private sector. People are cooperating. So that part has been successful. But where the government, I think, made a lapse is that they did not get the equipment early in January. We should have got more testing kits, more face masks, more ventilators. We delayed on that. And I hope they are sufficient now, because we have to lift this lockdown partially. And you have to go to testing, keep testing like Germany and South Korea. If you keep testing only, there's some way to hold it. Even with testing, South Korea has found cases returning. But there's no way out. Follow Germany, keep testing. And because we were fully locked down, since we were not ready at that time, we have to lift the lockdown partially and keep bringing the economy back on.
This is being called another war. This outbreak is being compared to the Second World War. In your lifetime as a leader, would you say that this is the most challenging period that you have seen the whole world face together?
This is the most challenging period, Second World War or any war. You knew who the enemy was. Even if you were taking on the ISIS, we knew who's doing it. But here we don't know who was responsible. I think at Dubai, I mentioned, we've seen the upside of globalization. Now we are going to see the downside. But no one thought it will come so fast. And it's basically undermining all the economies. It's like what happened to the Soviet with this. Economy collapsed, it collapsed. So we are all in a very, very difficult situation globally. And there's no global leadership coming. That's the other problem that we are having in facing this.
Is this a collective failure of global leadership? Organizations like the World Health Organization that should have taken the lead have come under a fair bit of criticism. The United Nations Security Council met belatedly, but there was no resolution. How do you think the leaders of the world have failed in a crisis like this?
It's collective failure. Leaders are not the institutions. IMF, World Bank, WHO, UN, some has to come forward, which is not happening. When it came to climate change, there were people like the former French President Hollande, Obama and others who took leadership. When it came to World War II, Roosevelt took leadership with Churchill and Stalin and Chiang Kai-shek. But here, who is taking leadership? Even when there was the economic downturn, the crisis in 2009, Gordon Brown, George Bush, many of them came in, took action. But here, no one is talking. Some of them are fighting. And we are just looking. It's a global pandemic. It's not a national issue. A global pandemic needs a global response. Some people have to step up and say, this is the way to do it. That is my point. And that at the moment, so this is the downside of globalization. You're having the impact of globalization, and there's no global response. It's just statements that are coming out.
Pakistan has sought loan waivers from all the lenders, including China. Should Sri Lanka too ask China for a loan waiver in light of these developments?
We can ask China, but with this China, any other countries, they will all have to take a policy decision. If you give one, you have to give the others. But our problem is that our bulk of our foreign loans, it's about, I think, about 50% of our debt is really international sovereign bonds. China, India, all come up to about 15 to 20% only. So the issue is the international foreign bonds, and we have to pay another $1 billion in a few months' time. So we take it off our reserves. Our reserves come down. I can't see any new money coming in. Earlier, we balanced it out by 2016, 17, and we are on the path to repayment. I think the government is now talking with the IMF because they have restored what the revenue back to the levels that the IMF wanted them. But it's going to be difficult. We will somehow pay this money, I feel, but then our reserves will go down further, and there's no way of meeting that gap. So we are all going to be in trouble by now, if not this year, by next year. But I think the creditor countries, all China, everyone should basically give some relief to all the other countries. But then in turn, Japan, China, their economy is also affected. So it's a sort of, the effect is going to be felt. So it's a question of who takes the pain. But I think the creditor countries must look favorably at the debtor countries.
And do you have any recommendations on what people should be reading and watching at this time?
Well, it depends on what. I just got onto some Hindi movies. But I watched an old one 2 days ago, Hotel Mumbai. It's just a sort of rerun, but now there have been some of the new ones. What do you recommend I should see? Netflix had a whole series on Hindi movies. So you tell me what I should. I look at one about the love, the one who wanted to get married and the three friends went out to Spain. And he decided, Kabir Singh, this one, that is the name of that guy. I think, he was acting. So you do tell me some good ones I can watch.
Well, we're making a list for him. If you have any recommendations on what he should see, just send us a line. That was former Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, with us from Colombo.